Green Lantern Corps issue 1, Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams writing with Fernando Pasarin on the art. So yeah, we got a second Green Lantern book again after. Oh yeah, but I mean, I guess I know because when Morrison was doing the Green Lantern, that was the only Green Lantern book for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be since who was it? Humphreys doing Green Lanterns, right?
Yeah, Green Lanterns and Green Lantern Corps side by side was probably the last time we had 2 ongoing Green Lantern books. Yeah. That's technically War Journal would count. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's more of a maxi, right? So this is an ongoing. So we're gonna play with a little bit of loose with terminology here.
I guess that never felt like it was going to be around forever, which is why it never felt like, we've got 2 ongoing Green Lantern books. But no, we're back with this, and it does fit firmly into what Green Lantern is set up with the spectrum being all out of whack. In fact, that's very much the focus of this book. And it follows some of the characters, of course, that aren't in the main Green Lantern book right now. So Hal and Kyle are in that, so they're off doing stuff. This book, of course, John kind of takes the lead, but there's some important roles for some of the others. Obviously, Kelly and his construct sister are also around. Jessica's been given kind of like the Guardian's old job of being the one who actually like assigns things and like keeps track of whatnot.
What's Salak up to? No offense to Jess, but that's like his thing, you know? So I don't know what he's up to.
I don't know. He died.
I'm saying.
I'm just glad Jess has got a place to be in this new Green Lantern book. Joe's there as well, actually. Joe's got an interesting little moment with John early on, where she's trying to, basically say, hey, you're going through a lot right now. It's okay if you take a break and maybe talk about everything that's happened to you if you need to talk. And John, of course, just kind of scurries away as quickly as possible, and it leaves her. Probably one of my favorite moments of art in the book actually is her face just feeling a little bit deflated and being like, he needs help and he's not accepting it, and this is rough. As Guy standing behind her trying to feed like an alien baby with a Green Lantern ball. Oh my god!
So that entire sequence, if you look, it reminded me of Abed delivering the baby, right?
Oh, because Guy's doing every panel on that page. Guy's in the background dealing with this baby. Yeah. So it's like it's a regular kind of looks like an alien made out of some kind of fluid. And as the panel goes, it gets bigger, like it's bloating, and then it explodes, and everybody's covered in like the stuff. And Guy goes and looks at the chair, and in the next panel, he's now holding a baby, and it's just something very little in the background that's very funny. Yeah, a liquid baby specifically.
Yes, a liquid baby that he's now feeding with a Green Lantern construct bottle.
Yes. It's just it's got a bit of personality. There's a bit of tone, and that's actually what I liked about. When it interests Jess next up, because Captain is exactly her role. She's the core captain, is what they're calling her, and she's got the stress of having to deal with all this stuff. And Simon comes in to try and give her a bit of a pep talk and talk her up. But yeah, so basically they all have a meeting. They talk about what's going on, and the big things here is that there's a situation on Tamaran. Yeah. And they're going to send out John with someone to help because there's a giant fear construct that's formed there, and they need help. Right? It's that they're very scared there. This construct's formed out of nowhere, like we've been seeing because of the spectrum being all wonky, and out of nowhere, the buddy cop he's been sent with in a Green Lantern uniform is Sinestro, who is back here on the Corps, and of course he's like, hey, I've mastered fear, so who better to go and deal with a fear construct than me?
This smug guy, just the way that Pasarin drew him.
He's so smug.
That smug look on his face. Yeah. Now, I'd be lying if, they brought up Tamarin and it said, we're going to put you with a partner. And what they had done in Green Lantern, right, they'd introduced Superboy and the Time Bandit. So I'm thinking, we're going to expand the Corps a little bit. Tamarin, it's got to be Starfire. So when I turned the page, I was, Sinestro. That makes much more sense. But
yeah, I wasn't expecting Starfire. Even with the mention of Tamaran, I wasn't expecting Starfire. We do ever get the Queen, though we get Blackfire.
We get her sister, Commander.
Yeah. She's dealing with this giant construct, which is actually one of their gods, or it's in the form of one of their gods, is this giant yellow construct. And it basically turns out to be, after they talk with her a little bit, and one of the running gags here is that Blackstar kind of ends up having... Sorry, Blackfire ends up... There's a character called Blackstar, though, right? I'm not
there is. Yeah, I know there's Darkstar. Darkstar is the main one that's in Green Lantern. So, yes.
That's just not my fault. All these names are all blended together. Anyway.
He's the vampire guy that seemed to be the main villain.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Blackfire gets the hots for John because he's commanding, he's doing whatever. The main thing here, though, is that the Tamaranian who is causing this construct, right? Her fear of being judged by her god is so strong that it's created this giant construct of the god, and it's causing chaos. And Sinestro finds her, recognizes this, and talks her down, right? And in the background, we see that John's got a giant Green Lantern straitjacket on the yellow construct, which I thought was a funny touch. But, you know, he's fighting, he's helping Blackfire. This is all going on in the background. But it's left to Sinestro, who's not exactly someone with a bedside manner, to talk to this Tamaranian woman who is terrified and causing this. And he basically talks about how he mastered fear, and even brings up at one point that he also imbued the rage as well, because he was a Red Lantern there for like 5 minutes. And he basically says, hey, you overcome fear with willpower. And the fact that you have so much willpower that your fear can manifest this, you can bring this down. And sure enough, like, she does. And then he pretty much immediately turns to John Stewart and says, she has incredible willpower. She just overcame that fear. If there was ever a candidate. And it kind of sets up and introduces this idea here that the Green Lantern rings aren't just flying out to people like they used to. They're picking who is getting to join the Green Lantern Corps. And John offers her the ring. And it's, you know, it's a fun little moment, and we've got a Tamaranian Green Lantern now. So I thought this was a neat way to introduce a new character. I kind of dig her Green Lantern outfit that appears.
I like because she has the braid, right? And so that Tamaranian hair really sticks out against the green. So yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, no, I like the white bits in the outfit. It's just because I really dig like some of the variations that Kyle's had on his outfit back when they were experimenting with it a little bit more. I remember getting really pissed because when they showed like all the potential concepts they had for Jessica back when she was first being introduced, some of the alternatives they had were more like Kyle's old suit, and I'm like, oh damn, I'd have loved that color scheme.
Yeah, I do love the idea that we can get variants now too, because the Guardians aren't there to impose that kind of order. Yeah, so we get a little bit more expression in the core, which I always like, because like guys sleeveless vest, right? It's kind of stupid, but it is unique. You know, no one else wears that, and even John's here. John's suit too is much, you know, its own thing. It's not a traditional Green Lantern.
Yeah, well, he never had the same as everyone else, although it has changed a little bit again here for this book, because you notice like two stripes. It's very military looking actually now with those two stripes instead of the one, because normally it has the one big green bit at the top and then the symbols kind of at the bottom of it, and then the rest is black, barring the boots or whatever. And now it's the same kind of broad idea, but instead of just being a big green block at the top of his suit, it's like two big stripes that are going up to his shoulders. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like it. Yeah, no, I kind of dug this. I kind of like that this is maybe a new sort of B-tier Green Lantern we're going to have sticking around, at least in this book. But yeah, so they're talking about the stuff that's going on in the main book a little bit. You know, they go back to base, and they're talking about Sorrow. I love that Jess calls him the emo lantern. I laughed at that. That was a good joke. But and John's just like, okay, I need to be on this then, right, Jess? You're sending me out there to deal with this. And she's like, no. We've got other people doing that. Probably referencing Hal and co. Right. But we have another problem. Thanagar. There's something going on. And because I'm sending you to Thanagar, you need a Thanagar liaison. Or new Thanagar, because the original Thanagar's dead at this point. And there's just that moment before the final page where he's like, oh, please don't. Please no. Please don't let it be. And then, of course, Hawkwoman is there in the last page. Yeah. So he's got his ex as his buddy for next. So issue 1, he gets Sinestro. Issue 2, he gets his ex-girlfriend.
This has felt more like a cop procedural than any Green Lantern book I can remember.
I like it. It feels different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, just looking at the background, like it looks like a cop precinct, right? Nuoa.
Yes, it does.
Kind of everybody's bustling around. It kind of reminded me of Brooklyn Nine-Nine at parts, with the way that it was laid out and stuff. So, yeah, to have him being this put upon kind of guy, that's very much in there with the cop procedural
I think
as well.
this is the perfect format for the second Green Lantern book for a couple reasons. Obviously, they've picked John Stewart to be the lead, and that's cool. But this format lets all these other Green Lanterns still be a constant part of it. The humor you can get out of the cop precinct kind of setting that they're going for is really smart. I also obviously the one question getting into this book is Jeremy Adams was listed as a co-writer, whether that's because he's co-writing in the traditional sense or he's like scripting, or sorry, he's plotting and then the other writer's scripting. But I have to say, I felt no downgrade here. Like Morgan Hampton, she, whether she's just writing the dialogue or she's co-writing and like helping with the plot as well, I'm not sure. But I felt no like downgrade from the main Green Lantern book. If anything, this was just completely on par with at least this month's issue of Green Lantern. Arguably better than some past months we've had. There was no. I never came out of this feeling, the writing's a little bit lesser because Adams isn't solely writing that. If anything, it's as strong, if not a little bit stronger. So, no complaints on that front.
No, and it feels like it has its own identity already through one issue.
It does. It feels in the world. It feels in the same world as the Green Lantern book because they're talking about a lot of the same problems, and they're going to use presumably the Spectrum going wonky as a lot of the seeds for a lot of the plots they do for the next foreseeable future. But it does feel like it's doing its own thing in terms of how it's tackling. And I think this issue was really good at setting up the status quo of this Green Lantern precinct, like headquarters that they're all dealing with. We like a lot of the characters that are involved, like Jess and Guy and whoever. And then it did a good thing where the actual little mission they went on, even though it only got like half the issue because they had to set up everything else in the first half, I presume issue 2 will be a lot more, the full issue will be devoted to whatever's going on in Thanagar. But they did a nice little thing where, I actually cared about the character they ended up helping. And it's kind of cool that she's been added to the ranks, and I'm curious if they've got plans for her where no, she'll be like a proper recurring character and maybe grow into being like a cool lantern over the course of this book.
Did you read Green Lantern Corps before it tied into Sinestro Corps War when it was doing something very similar back then? I don't know if you were reading at that point.
Think I want to say I did, but it's been so long I don't remember.
Yeah, you would get an A plot and a B plot because there were so many different characters, right? You had this Radiant Green Lantern who was teamed up with a Thanagarian, right? So they were like this odd couple. You had Guy that would pop in there from time to time. You had Kyle and Sornik, who was, from Korugar, turns out to be Sinestro's daughter, right? And so you had all these plots swirling around, kind of everything that Hal wasn't doing. Right, because Hal was the sole focus of that Green Lantern book, and this feels very reminiscent of that. This feels like it has more focus.
Yeah, no, I'm digging it. I think this is a cool, because I kind of went into this with muted expectations, not because I had any reasons to think it wasn't going to be great, but just because I'm like, it's the second book, it might not be great, and if it's not great, that's fine. I'll keep reading the main one, and it's okay. But
yeah,
I came out of it feeling quite happy. And then art-wise, which we've not really talked on yet, I mean, PASARÍN's a very, very dependable house-style DC artist. It's not going to, often compete for my favorite art of the week necessarily, but I have very little to complain about. It's very expressive. There's a lot of good detail in the faces. Really handles because some of those moments where Sinestro's talking to the Thanagarian here, or sorry, the Tamaranian. Sorry, too many planets we're talking about. He's talking to the Tamaranian and he's talking her down. There's a great moment where Blackfire kind of comes in and gets mad at her. It's like, hey, this is your fault. You did this to us. And Sinestro just turns with an angry look in his face and says, "Woman," and starts telling off Blackfire for talking down to her. Like that art there is great. Like the eyebrows up, the teeth are like gritting at her. It's good stuff.
Yeah. And it PASARÍN worked with Adams, I think, a lot on Flash, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
So they probably have a pretty good working relationship. So that helps, even if this is just a launching, for the book, and then Adams will go off and this will be Morgan Hampton's main book. I do think that comfortability working with Adams, it plays out really well here through the art.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, is Adams only going to be a co-writer for an arc, maybe, and then Hampton will be left on her own to, and I haven't read anything else she's done, so I'm pleasantly.
Yeah, the credit that comes up in the solicit on the Comic Geeks was Cyborg. So we read like 2 issues of that new Cyborg book. But yeah, I mean, if this is going to be more of this, then I'm fine with that, because I feel like.
Do you know what? I hate to say it, because I don't want to just write off a character, but like I've disliked every Cyborg book I've tried to read, and maybe it's at a point now where it's just the character's just like he's fine on a team, he is, but like maybe just like no writers found the way to like make a solo Cyborg story that compelling.
Yeah. But yeah, here, if whatever Hampton worked on, it felt true to Green Lantern. Every character felt right. Down to Ellie, who is probably the newest, right?
Well, either Ellie. Construct. Yeah, I mean, I guess well, I mean, the character she's based on probably isn't the newest. It's probably Teen Lantern who's the newest.
Yeah.
But then again, we have this new character now who is now the newest. Yeah. So Vexaru is this new character's name, which is probably going to take a while to stick. I imagine, if I was to guess, we're probably going to shorten the name to just Vex, because that's easier than saying Vexaru. So she's Vex. We're going to call her Vex.
Yeah. But you need that apostrophe, that glottal stop in the Tamarani name, like Coriander and Commander and every other Tamaranian that we've met. So, but yeah, Lantern Vex.
Yeah, Vex sounds nice. It's catchy.
Yeah. Blackfire called her Vexaru the Zealot. So I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of a dark side we're not seeing. And that's where the fear of the god and whatever comes from. And I'm excited to see where that goes.
I mean, that could be a thing. It could also, that could mirror like Jessica's, because Jessica's whole story about overcoming the agoraphobia and all that. I wonder if this is like, oh, she's always lived this fearful life because she thinks the gods will smite her. Maybe this whole story about her having her willpower, she'll find her inner strength. Maybe she'll feel like, hey, maybe I don't need to buy into or believe in that stuff as much as I did, or at least be scared of it because I have my own strength. And in that weird way, Sinestro did a good thing today, and that's.
And that's the thing, is that Sinestro let his fear overtake him, and that led to him becoming a dictator, right? And so now he has, he's back on this side. He has that power. So I do like seeing the complex, nature of Sinestro at play here.
Honestly, at this point, I think he should just stay as a Green Lantern. Obviously, he was a Yellow Lantern for a long time. He had the Sinestro Corps. That was a whole big thing. It was a great story. It was a great thing to do. And obviously it kind of retconned like who Sinestro was when they sort of introduced all those ideas rather than what he was originally back in the Silver Age. But I think at this point he's far more compelling as being a Green Lantern again, who has this edge to him, who obviously goes a little bit darker than the other characters because of who he is. But I think him working with the other Lanterns and doing good things despite his like sort of tough demeanor is, I think, more interesting to me at this point than him just being leader of the Yellow Lantern Corps anymore.
I don't like mustache trolling Sinestro. It doesn't feel like, again, we've dug so deep on him over the last 20 years that there's so much more complexity to him. I do like when he shows up as a good guy.
Obviously not every villain needs to have shades of grey and be redeemable, but I do think, like John's run on Green Lantern was obviously great. And it kind of peaked at Blackest Night, or some people might prefer earlier parts, but like that's where I think it crescendoed to. I think it's after Blackest Nights where it started to slide down into like, oh, we're just kind of doing more stuff now, rather than it feeling. But the one thing that I really liked in that new 52 chunk was this idea that he had to kind of forgive Sinestro or accept that Sinestro could be good again. And I think that's just the direction that I prefer to see for Sinestro, is have him be. I don't even know if anti-hero is the right word, because he's a part of the core, but like, just...
I'm liking to think of him as that cop that has an edge, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen the Shield, but maybe like early Shield, Vince Mackey type, he's trying to do good.
I mean, Vic Mackey was always corrupt and always out for himself, but I kind of get what you're going for.
Yeah. So, he kind of has this edge. If he has to, he'll plant the evidence to make sure the bad guy gets locked away, where Jon Stewart won't do that. He has too much honor. So, I like that he's there, though, because what else are we going to do with Sinestro at this point?
Oh yeah, this is far more interesting, I think, to do with Sinestro than just about anything else. So,
but yeah, no, so it's pretty solid.
Yeah, hopefully they stick to that. But no, yeah, I'm very happy with this issue 1. I'm excited to read a second Green Lantern book every month, which is cool. All right, Matt, what are you giving Green Lantern Corps issue 1? I'm
gonna give this a straight 8.
I'm happy to go 8.5. I'm pleasantly surprised, just because I guess I feel like I was braced for like mediocre, and I was like, oh no, it's actually pretty good. I'm actually kind of into it.